The hall was loud, full of alien voices. The air smelled of smoke, sour drink, and sweat. The walls shook with the sound of heavy boots and cruel laughter. In the middle of the hall, the warriors shouted for more fun. They wanted a show, something to laugh at. At the corner of the hall, a human janitor stood quietly. He was not a soldier, not a fighter, just a man hired to clean the floor. His hands were rough from scrubbing. His clothes were stained from oil and dust. He kept his head down, because, here, humans were seen as weak. Humans were allowed only for labor, not for honor. Suddenly, the biggest warrior slammed his fist on the table. His voice thundered across the room. "Bring the gift," he roared. The crowd cheered. The janitor froze. He didn't know what they meant. The doors opened. 2 guards dragged in something small. It was not a weapon, not a trophy. It was a girl. Her skin was pale blue, her body thin and bruised. Her silver hair was tangled and dirty. Her eyes were wide but empty. She did not resist. She only stumbled forward, falling to her knees on the hard floor. The warriors burst into laughter. "Look at her," one shouted. "Broken and useless, a toy for our amusement." Another slammed his cup on the table. "Give her to the human, let him have some fun too, even the cleaner should laugh." The janitor's heart sank. The guards pushed the girl toward him. She fell at his feet. The hall erupted with noise. Some shouted jokes, some demanded he show how a human plays with a broken thing. He looked down at her. She was trembling. Her hands scratched from chains. Her breath was shallow. She did not even look up. For her, hope was gone. The human's chest burned. He wanted to shout, to fight, but he knew if he resisted, they would kill him and her. He forced a weak smile, nodding slowly, pretending to accept. The crowd cheered again. They thought he had agreed. They thought he was one of them now. 2 guards shoved him and the girl out of the hall. "Take her, janitor," one hissed. "Don't waste the gift." Their laughter echoed as the heavy door closed behind. Now the hall was far. The noise grew faint. The janitor helped the girl stand. She was so light it felt like lifting a child. She leaned on him, her eyes half closed. He whispered softly, "It's all right. You are safe with me." She did not answer, but a small breath escaped her lips, like she had heard. He carried her to the storage room where he worked. It was dark, full of broken machines, crates, and tools. He laid her gently on a cloth he used for wiping oil. He found a cup and filled it with water from a rusty pipe. He touched it to her lips. At first she did not move. Then slowly, she drank, drops spilling down her chin. Her hands shook as she tried to hold the cup. He steadied her fingers. She flinched, pulling back as if touch meant pain. He did not push. He only whispered again, "No one will hurt you here." Minutes passed. The girl finally opened her eyes. They were a dull silver, once beautiful, but now covered with sorrow. She looked at him like she could not understand why. He was gentle. The janitor sat beside her, his heart heavy. He thought of the warriors, their laughter, their cruelty. To them, this girl was nothing, broken, useless. But to him, she was not a toy. She was alive. And that was enough. Outside, footsteps echoed in the hall, voices shouted and laughed. The world was cruel just beyond the thin metal wall. But in this small room, something different was happening. A human who had nothing, not power, not weapons, not freedom, was making a choice. He looked at the girl again. Her body was weak, her spirit almost gone. But there was still a small light, hidden deep inside her eyes. He swore silently to himself. He would not let her die like this. He would not treat her as entertainment. "They gave me a broken girl," he whispered, "but I will give her back her life." The words felt dangerous, his heart pounded. He knew if the aliens ever found out, they would kill him without mercy. Still, he could not turn away, and in that dark storage room under the hum of broken machines, the story began. A human, a janitor, a man who had nothing was about to risk everything. The storage room was quiet. The only sound was the slow drip of water from a pipe above. The human janitor sat on the floor, his back against a crate. His eyes stayed on the girl lying before him. She had not spoken, not even a whisper since the guards left. Her body was still, curled like a wounded animal. Her chest rose and fell with shallow breaths. He could see the marks on her wrists, red and swollen from chains. Every mark told a story of cruelty, but she had no strength to explain. The human pushed a small piece of bread toward her. He had hidden it in his pocket earlier, food saved from his own meal. She glanced at it but did not move. Her silver eyes flickered once, then dropped to the floor. "You need to eat," he said softly. His voice carried no command, only care. But she stayed still, silent. Her fingers tightened around her knees as if even touching food would bring punishment. The human sighed. He broke the bread into smaller pieces, placing one near her hands. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, as if expecting pain, she reached out. Her thin fingers touched the piece. She lifted it, trembling, and took a small bite. It was not hunger alone that made her eat. It was the faint hope that maybe this human was different. He did not laugh like the others. He did not pull her up only to throw her down. His touch, though strange, was gentle. Minutes stretched. The janitor watched her finish the bread piece by piece. Every bite seemed like a battle for her. When she was done, she looked at him for the first time. Her silver eyes were not bright, but they were alive. He smiled weakly. "See, you are safe here," he whispered. She blinked once but said nothing. Still, that small look was more than he expected. Hours passed. The storage room grew colder. The human found an old blanket from a crate. He placed it over her. She pulled it tight around herself, hiding her face. For a long time, silence ruled. But the silence was heavy, not empty. Finally, in the deep hours of night, he heard a sound. It was soft, broken, like a whisper made of fear. "Why?" the girl asked. Her voice cracked as if she had not spoken in days, maybe weeks. The human leaned closer. "Why? What?" he asked gently. "Why? Help me?" she whispered. Her eyes peeked from the blanket, silver shining faint in the dark. The question stabbed him. He wanted to say because she deserved life, because cruelty was wrong, but he knew those words might mean nothing to her, so he only said, "Because you are not broken, you are alive, and that matters." She stared at him. Her lips trembled. She wanted to believe. But belief was dangerous in her world. Trust always ended in pain. Still, she did not pull away. She let the blanket fall a little, showing her face. The janitor's heart ached. She was young, too young to have scars this deep. Her eyes were silent but full of questions. Would he hurt her later like the others? Would his kindness turn to cruelty when no one watched? "I will not hurt you," he whispered, his voice steady, "even if it cost me everything." For the first time, her eyes widened. It was not full trust, but it was surprise, as if no one had ever said such words to her. The night passed slowly. He stayed awake, guarding her like a fragile flame. Outside, alien voices roared with drunken laughter. Inside, the storage room held a fragile peace. By morning, the girl sat up. She leaned against the wall, still weak but no longer collapsed. She studied the human, her gaze sharp but quiet. She said nothing, but her eyes asked the questions her lips could not. The janitor cleaned tools nearby, pretending not to notice, but he felt her watching. It was not mistrust alone. It was also curiosity. Why did this strange human risk punishment for her? When he finally turned, their eyes met again. Her stare was deep, silent but strong. It was not the stare of a broken toy. It was the stare of someone waiting to see if hope could be real. And in that silent gaze, a bond was forming. Fragile, yet unshakable. The human felt it, and she felt it too. Even without words, something powerful had begun. The world outside still wanted her broken. But in this room, her silent eyes spoke louder than any cry. The day was long. The human worked quietly in the storage room, fixing broken tools and wiping the oily floor. The alien girl sat in the corner, wrapped in the blanket. Her eyes followed him in silence. She still did not trust words, but her gaze was heavy. Hours passed. Every time he offered food, she hesitated. Yet she always took it in the end. Her hand shook less now, her breathing was steadier, but her silence remained. The human did not push her. He knew trust was not given quickly, not after what she had endured. Still, he hoped, if she spoke, maybe he would understand her pain. Maybe he would know how to help. Late in the night, when the alien halls outside were filled with drunken noise, she finally whispered. Her voice was fragile, broken. "Do you know what they did to me?" The human froze. He put the tool down, turning toward her. She was not looking at him. She stared at the floor, her silver hair falling like a curtain over her face. "They took everything," she said. Her words came slowly, as if each one hurt. "My family, my name, my place. They chained me, they laughed, they broke me again and again until nothing was left." The human's hands curled into fists, rage burned inside him. But he stayed quiet, letting her speak. "They called me useless," she whispered. "They said I was only for amusement, to remind others what happens when you fail to obey. They wanted me to forget I was alive. They wanted me to believe I was nothing." Tears slipped from her eyes. She quickly wiped them away, ashamed of showing weakness. But the human did not move closer. He knew she needed space. He whispered softly, "You are not nothing." Her head lifted slightly, her eyes met his. There was anger in them, anger born from pain. "You don't understand," she said. "If they find you helping me, they will kill you. If they know you care, they will destroy you too. No one survives kindness here." The human took a slow breath. "Then let them try," he said, his voice steady. "I will not stop, not for them." Her lips parted. She stared at him as if the words were impossible. No one had ever said such things. No one had ever risked for her. Silence filled the room again. But this silence was different. It was not empty. It carried weight, a promise unspoken. After a long pause, she spoke again, softer this time. "I was not always like this," she whispered. "I was once free. I used to laugh, I used to sing. My mother said my voice was like light, but when the chains came, the light died." Her voice cracked. She pressed the blanket tighter around her, hiding her face. "I don't even remember the sound of my own laugh anymore." The human's chest tightened. He wanted to tell her she would laugh again, but he knew promises meant little to someone who had been betrayed so many times, so he simply whispered, "I will remember for you, until you find it again." Her eyes glistened. She turned away quickly, embarrassed by her tears. But inside, something shifted. For the first time in years, her pain had been heard, not mocked, not ignored. The night stretched on. Outside, the cruel laughter of aliens echoed through the halls. Inside, the broken girl whispered pieces of her past, little fragments of who she once was. A daughter, a singer, a soul stolen and crushed. The human listened to every word, not with pity, but with respect. Each whisper of pain became a spark in his heart, a fire growing stronger. He would not let her story end in chains. When her words finally stopped, she leaned against the wall, her body weak from speaking. Her eyes closed, but her hand rested lightly on the blanket where his hand had been earlier. It was not touch, not yet, but it was closer than before. The human looked at her sleeping form. His fists clenched, he knew now. Her pain was more than wounds. It was a life shattered, and healing her would not be easy. It would mean risking everything. He whispered to the silent room, "They wanted her broken, but I will make her whole again." And in that moment, the decision was sealed. He would fight the galaxy if he had to, because her whispers of pain had become his reason to rise. The storage room was dim. Only a small light from the corner lamp lit the space. The human janitor worked quietly, but his eyes often went back to the girl. She was awake now, no longer hiding fully in the blanket. She sat against the wall, her silver eyes following his every move. Days had passed since she had first whispered her pain. In that time, something had changed. She still spoke little, but the silence between them was no longer cold. It was heavy with meaning, with a strange trust that should not exist here. The human had found scraps of medicine hidden among the tools. They were old, half-spoiled, but still useful. He dipped a cloth in water and carefully pressed it to her wounds. She winced but did not pull away. His hands were gentle, slower than a healer's, but filled with care. "You do not have to," she whispered once, her voice soft. "If they catch you, you will suffer like me." He shook his head. "If I don't, you will die." Her lips pressed tightly. She wanted to argue, but her body betrayed her. The warmth of his care was something she had forgotten long ago. Every touch told her she was not just an object, not just entertainment. At night, the sound of boots echoed outside. The guards sometimes laughed near the storage door. The girl would tense, pulling the blanket tight around her, her eyes wide. With fear, the human would sit close, whispering gently, "They will not come in, I am here." One night she whispered back, "Why do you stay?" The question hung in the air. His answer came slow but steady. "Because I see you, not the broken toy they think you are." Her silver eyes widened. She had never heard words like that. For so long, she had been told she was nothing, that her body was only for others' cruelty. Now this strange human saw something else. "You don't know me," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Then tell me," he said. "Tell me who you are." She was quiet for a long time. The blanket wrapped. Around her shoulders, finally she whispered, "My name." "They took it from me. They call me nothing, but I still remember it was Leora." The name was like music, soft but strong. The human repeated it gently. "Leora." She looked at him sharply, as if hearing her name after so long was both joy and pain. In that moment, the bond between them deepened. It was not only about survival anymore. It was about memory, about identity, about bringing life back to what was stolen. The days grew dangerous. Rumors spread in the hall. Some aliens whispered that the human was not using his gift as expected. The overseer's eyes followed him longer, suspicion heavy. One evening, when he brought food back to the storage room, Leora refused to eat. Her eyes glistened as she shook her head. "You must stop," she whispered. "If they discover this, they will kill you for me. I cannot let that happen." The human sat beside her, his voice low. "I would rather die saving you than live doing nothing." Her eyes filled with tears. She covered her face, whispering, "Why? Why do you care?" He hesitated, his throat tight. "Because you remind me what it means to be alive," he said. "And because no one deserves chains. Not you. Not anyone." Leora lowered her hands. Her eyes searched his face. She wanted to doubt, but her heart betrayed her. She believed him, at least a little. That night, she did not sleep far from him. She curled closer, still wrapped in the blanket, but near enough to feel his presence. The human stayed awake, listening to her soft breaths. His chest, heavy with the weight of the risk. Outside, the alien world was cruel. Inside the storage room, something forbidden had taken root. A bond between a broken alien girl and a simple human janitor. A bond stronger than chains, and though neither of them spoke it aloud, they both knew the truth. They were no longer just survivor and captive. They were something else. Something dangerous to the cruel order of this place. The human looked at her as she slept, her silver hair falling gently over her face. He whispered to himself, "They can call me weak. They can call me a fool, but I will never let her go." And in the silence of the night, the forbidden bond grew stronger, unseen but unbreakable. The days passed, but with every passing day the danger grew heavier. The human janitor still worked his hours, cleaning halls and carrying tools, but his mind was always on Leora, hidden in the storage room. Every step back toward her felt like a stolen breath. Leora was healing slowly, her body less weak, her voice a little stronger, but the fear in her eyes had not left. She knew as well as he did that their secret could not last forever. The aliens were cruel but not blind. They noticed when something was not as they expected. One evening when the janitor walked into the mess hall with his cleaning cart, he felt the stares. The warriors at the long tables smirked at him, their voices low but sharp. "Has he grown bored already?" one asked. Another slammed a cup down. "Or is the human too soft for real fun?" The overseer, a tall alien with sharp ridges on his skull, did not laugh. He only stared, his yellow eyes fixed on the human as if digging for truth. The janitor felt sweat on his back but forced himself to keep working. Later that night, when he slipped into the storage room, Leora noticed his unease. "Something happened," she whispered, clutching the blanket. "They are watching," he said, keeping his voice low. "They suspect I am not like them." Her silver eyes widened. Fear washed over her face. "You cannot hide it forever. They will test you. They will force you to prove yourself. And when you refuse, they will kill you." The human knelt beside her, his voice steady even as his heart raced. "Then we must be ready before that happens." "Ready?" she whispered, confusion in her tone. "Ready to leave," he said. "I will not let them touch you again." Her lips trembled. She shook her head. "No. If you try, they will hunt you down. You will suffer for me." "Leora," he whispered, calling her by the name she thought she had lost. "I am already suffering watching you like this. I will not stop." Her eyes filled with tears, but she turned away, hugging her knees. Her heart wanted to believe him, but her fear chained her harder than any lock. The following day, whispers moved through the hall. Some of the warriors mocked the janitor openly now. "Maybe the human broke his toy," one sneered. "Maybe he keeps her hidden because she is too weak to move." The overseer said nothing, but his eyes burned colder. The human felt those eyes even when his back was turned. Back in the storage room, he prepared for what was coming. He hid food in small packs. He loosened a vent at the far wall, a possible escape route if the worst happened. Leora noticed but said nothing. She only watched with her silent eyes. That night she finally spoke. "Why risk everything? You could live if you just pretend. You could survive if you let me be broken." He stopped, turning to her, his voice hard. "Because surviving without you is not living." Her breath caught. She looked at him as if seeing him for the first time. For so long she had believed no one would ever value her again. Yet this simple human, a janitor with nothing, spoke as if her life was worth more than his own. For the first time she reached out. Her fingers brushed his hand, small and trembling. It was not much, but it was a choice, a step toward trust. But outside, shadows grew longer. The overseer began sending guards past the storage room more often. Their boots echoed down the halls at night, sometimes stopping by the door. Sometimes the handle rattled, then moved on. Every sound made Leora shiver. Every pause made the human grip the nearest tool like a weapon. They both knew the truth. Discovery was close. One night, as they sat in silence, a sound broke the air. A soft knock, slow, deliberate. The human froze. Leora's face went pale. The knock came again, louder, followed by a voice cruel and mocking. "Human, open the door. We want to see your gift." Leora clutched his arm, panic in her eyes. The human pressed a finger to his lips. He moved quickly, pushing her behind crates, covering her with cloths and tools. His heart thundered in his chest. The handle turned. The door creaked open. A guard stepped inside. His eyes scanned the room. The human forced a tired smile. "Cleaning," he muttered, pointing to the tools in his hand. The guard sneered, looking around. His eyes lingered on the crates, on the shadows. The human's heart nearly stopped, but after a long moment the guard laughed. "Pathetic," he spat, slamming the door shut behind him. The silence after was unbearable. Leora crawled out, her body trembling, her silver eyes wide with terror. "They know," she whispered. "They are testing us." The human pulled her close, whispering fiercely, "Then let them test. I will not let them take you." And in that moment, both of them understood. The shadows of discovery were already here. Their time was running out. The storage room felt smaller every night. The human and Leora both knew the silence outside was not safety, it was warning. The guards passed by more often, their boots striking the floor like drums of war. Sometimes they paused. Sometimes they laughed as if daring him to slip. Leora's silver eyes were restless. She whispered often now, "They will come. They will break us." Her voice carried fear, but also something else, a strange strength. She had been broken before, but this time she was not alone. The human prepared as best as he could. He hid a sharpened piece of metal under his shirt. He kept water and food ready in small packs. His mind raced with plans, though he knew none of them might save them. Then one night the silence broke. The door burst open with a crash. The overseer himself stepped in, yellow eyes glowing in the dim light. Behind him marched 4 guards, chains in their hands. Leora gasped, clutching the blanket. The human stepped forward, placing himself between her and the intruders. His heart pounded, but his voice came steady. "What do you want?" The overseer smiled cruelly. "We want the truth," he said. The others laugh. "They think you are weak, but I think you are hiding something. Show us. Show us how you treat the toy we gave you." The guards moved closer. Their chains rattled, ready to bind. The human's hand tightened around the hidden shard of metal. He knew if they touched her, there would be no turning back. "She is not your toy," he said, his voice low, almost shaking but unbroken. The hall outside roared with laughter. The warriors had gathered, some pressed at the door to watch. They wanted a show. The overseer raised his hand. "Then fight," he said coldly. "Fight for your pet if you dare." The first guard lunged, chain swinging. The human moved fast, blocking with his arm. Pain shot through his skin, but he struck back with the shard. The guard howled, blood spraying. The crowd outside howled even louder. Another chain whipped through the air, striking his back. He staggered but stood again. Leora cried out, "Stop, please." Her voice cracked with fear, but her eyes were blazing. She had seen him suffer for her, and now she could not look away. The overseer laughed. "See how your human breaks," he mocked. "See how easily he falls." But the human did not fall. His body shook, his blood dripped, yet he still stood. He fought with nothing but scraps of metal and raw will. Every strike was for her. Every wound he took to shield her. The guard snarled, striking harder. Chains wrapped around his arms, pulling him down. He dropped to one knee, the weight crushing. Leora's heart shattered. She crawled forward, tears streaming. "Please stop," she begged. "He is not your enemy. He is mine. He belongs to me." The hall went silent for a moment. Her words shocked even herself. She was trying to protect him the only way she knew, by claiming him as if he were her property. But her silver eyes told the truth. He was not her property. He was her protector. The overseer sneered, stepping closer. "Then watch him die for you," he hissed. He raised his clawed hand, ready to strike the final blow, but before it could fall, the human roared. A sound of fury, of defiance. He pulled against the chains, muscles tearing, blood running. With one last surge, he threw himself upward, knocking the overseer back. The guard stumbled. Chaos erupted. The human swung the shard again. Cutting free of the chains, his body was broken, but his spirit blazed like fire. Leora screamed his name, not in fear, but in belief. She had been silent for so long, broken into whispers, but now her voice carried through the hall, like thunder. "He is mine, and I will not let you take him." The warriors watching laughed no more. They stared in shock. Some even stepped back. For the first time, they saw not a weak human janitor and a broken alien girl, but something terrifying. A bond that chains could not crush. The overseer snarled, wiping blood from his jaw. His eyes burned with rage. "Then both of you will die," he spat, his voice filled with hatred. But behind his words was something else, fear. The human staggered, barely able to stand, his body covered in wounds. But he placed himself in front of Leora again, his arms spread wide. "You will not touch her," he growled. The hall echoed with silence. No laughter now, only the crackling sound of chains on the floor. The fire in his eyes and the cry in hers had changed everything, and as the guards circled again, both the human and the broken girl knew this was no longer just survival. This was war. The hall was alive with chaos. The human stood bloodied and bruised, his chest heaving with every breath. Leora clung to his arm, her silver eyes wide with fear but burning with something new, belief. Around them, the guards circled with chains, the overseer's cruel smile cutting through the noise. "Finish him," the overseer ordered, his voice sharp like a blade. The guards rushed forward, their chains whipped through the air. The human blocked one strike with his arm, the metal biting into his skin. Another guard lunged from behind, but Leora screamed, "Behind you!" Her voice gave him strength. He turned, slamming his shard of metal into the guard's chest. The alien stumbled back, howling. The crowd of warriors roared. Some shouted for blood, others fell silent, watching the impossible unfold. A human janitor, a man meant only to scrub floors, was standing against them all. But his strength was fading. Every movement sent pain shooting through his body. His knees buckled, the chains wrapped around him again, dragging him down. Leora reached forward, trying to pull them away. Her hands bled against the sharp iron, but she did not stop. "Let him go," she cried, her voice breaking. "You wanted me broken. You wanted me silent. But I am not broken anymore. I will not be silent again." The warriors shifted uneasily. Her voice was strong now, not the whisper of a broken toy. The overseer snarled. "Quiet!" he roared. "You are nothing." But she stood taller, her silver hair glowing in the firelight. "I am Leora," she shouted, "and he gave me back my life." The words struck, like thunder. For the first time, the human saw her as she once was, not just broken but unbroken, fierce, alive. He felt strength return to his limbs. Not from his own body, but from her voice. With a final roar, he tore against the chains. His body screamed, blood poured, but the links snapped. The guards stumbled back in shock. The human staggered to his feet, his eyes blazing. He charged at the overseer. The alien raised his claws, but the human struck first. Slamming the shard deep into his chest, the overseer's roar turned into a choking gasp. His body fell, crashing against the floor. Silence filled the hall. Dozens of alien eyes watched in disbelief. The overseer lay dead, and the human, broken but unyielding, stood above him. Leora ran to his side, catching him before he fell. His body was weak, blood dripping from every wound. She held him tight, her tears falling on his face. "Stay with me," she whispered. "Please, do not leave me now." He smiled faintly, his lips trembling. "They gave me a broken girl," he whispered back. "But you gave me strength. You gave me reason." Her hands pressed against his wounds, desperate to stop the bleeding. "You saved me," she cried. "You healed me. Now let me heal you." The warriors around them did not move. Some lowered their weapons, some turned away. For the first time, they did not laugh. They saw what they had never expected. A human willing to bleed for an alien girl, a broken soul rising again, let's say. Human's eyes closed for a moment, his breath shallow, but Leora shook him, refusing to let him slip away. "Do not leave me," she begged. "You are mine. You belong with me." Slowly, his eyes opened again, weak but alive. He whispered, "Then I am yours always." Her heart broke and healed at the same time. She pressed her forehead against his, tears streaming. The chains lay shattered on the ground, the overseer gone. The hall no longer echoed with cruelty, but with silence heavy as stone. The human had paid in blood, but his sacrifice had given her back more than freedom. It had given her soul, her voice, her name as they staggered together out of the hall. The warriors did not stop them. No one dared. Some even stepped aside, their faces unreadable. For once, cruelty had been silenced. Leora looked at him, her grip firm though her hands shook. "You risked your life to heal me," she whispered, "but I will never let you carry this pain alone again." The human smiled faintly, though his body trembled with every step. "Then we heal each other," he said, and so they walked, broken but unbroken into a future uncertain. Yet one truth remained. They gave him a broken alien girl just for entertainment, but instead, he risked everything, and together, they found something the galaxy could not crush.